The man on my porch shook my hand, said his name, and apologized for sleeping with my wife. He thought he was her boyfriend. Right up until I opened the door, he did not know I existed. This is a cheating story, and it is mine. And the strangest part is that the man my wife was cheating with is the only person in it who never lied to me. We live in Idaho, married 15 years. I am 43. She is 40. No kids to fill the quiet. Just the two of us and the routines. And after 15 years, the routines were most of the marriage. I want to be fair to the years because they were good ones. We paid off her car and threw a party about it. We gutted a bathroom together and only fought about the towel bar. I used to leave the porch light on when she worked late, and she used to leave the radio on low when I could not sleep. 15 years of that. You do not throw a marriage like that away on a hunch, which is why I explained everything away. The gym bag that came home unzipped with nothing wet inside it. I told myself she showered there. The way her Saturday errands grew from 90 minutes to 4 hours. Traffic, lines, the whole town remodeling at once. The perfume that went on before she left the house instead of before dinner. I told myself women wear perfume for themselves. I had a good answer for everything because I was not looking for the truth. I was looking for reasons to stop looking. The knock came on a Saturday morning in May, 10:40. I was home because my back had finally lost an argument with a ladder and she was at work. Saturday mornings had been hers for years. The one block of her week I never thought to question. I opened the door expecting a package. Instead, there was a man about my age, maybe a little younger, standing very straight, the way people stand when they have rehearsed something. Clean shirt, truck parked across the street, engine still ticking. He said, "Is this her house?" He used my wife's first name, not Mrs. Anything. Her first name, casual, like he had said it 100 times, and I felt every one of those 100 times hit me at once. I said, "Who are you?" And he asked me the same thing back. "Who are you?" I said the sentence that ended 2 relationships at the same time. I am her husband. I have watched a man learn something terrible before. I came up on a wreck on the highway once, years ago, and I saw a driver understand, right there in front of me, what he had done. That is what this stranger's face did on my porch. It came apart in stages. He looked at my left hand. He looked past me into the hallway, at her coat on the hook, at the 2 pairs of boots by the stairs. Then he put both hands on top of his head, like a man being arrested, and said, "Oh no, oh no, oh no." He did not run. I want that on the record. He stood there and took it. He said, "I did not know. I swear to God, I did not know." She told me she rented a room from a cousin. She told me that is why we could never go to her place. And I said, "What place did she tell you this at?" He said, "Mine, always mine." Here is where I am supposed to tell you I swung at him. Half the comments on stories like this are men promising what they would have done. I did not touch him, and it was not because I am a big man about it. I looked at his face and understood, faster than I could talk myself out of it, that he was not the thief. He got robbed, same as I did. I stepped onto the porch, closed the door behind me, and said, "Start from the beginning." We stood out there for 2 hours. My back was screaming. I did not care. His version, he met her in October at a hotel bar 2 towns over, where she was, in her telling, a divorced woman celebrating the divorce. Divorced, not separating, not unhappy, done, paper signed, moved on. They had been together 7 months. He knew her coffee order and her allergy, and the sound she makes when she is pretending a headache is smaller than it is, and every single fact he knew came with a lie I could check. She told him she lived with a cousin because the cousin was going through something. That was me. I was the cousin going through something. She told him she could never stay over on Sunday nights because of an early standing meeting. Sunday night is when we did our grocery run and cooked for the week, the routine we had kept since our first apartment. She told him not to call after 9, the porch light. I used to leave the porch light on for her, and somewhere in this marriage, she had turned my porch light into a curfew, but the lie that brought him to my door was simpler than any of that. She would not tell him where she lived. 7 months. He had never seen her street. Every time he pushed, the cousin story got another piece bolted onto it, and it itched at him because he had been on the other end of this before. His ex-wife ran a second life on him for a year, and he told me, standing on my porch with his hand still shaking, that the not knowing had nearly put him in the ground. He said, I promised myself I would never be stupid twice. So on Friday, the day before the knock, he did the thing he was ashamed of. She left his place, and he followed her, 3 cars back, feeling like a criminal, all the way across town, until she turned into a neighborhood that did not have a cousin in it and pulled into a garage like she owned the place, because she did. He parked down the street and sat there for a long time. He came back the next morning, when her car was gone, to find out whose house his girlfriend lived in. I asked him why he knocked instead of just asking her. He said, because I asked my ex once, and she lied to my face, and I bought it. This time, I wanted to see the answer with my own eyes. The affair did not crack because I caught her. It cracked because she ran the same story on him that she ran on me, and he had seen it before. We traded phones on the porch like 2 men comparing damage after a storm. He showed me 7 months. I am not going to walk you through all of it. I will tell you the one that put me on the porch railing because it was not a hotel picture. It was a text from her to him from February that said, "You are the first person in my life who has never lied to me." She sent that from our couch. I remember the night. I made soup. I read it twice, and then I told him she had said nearly the same thing to me once on an anniversary card. He nodded, slow, like a man hearing his own diagnosis. Both of us were the one person who never lied to her. I did know what he meant. She told each of us the other did not exist. We were both the cousin. Now, the part you came for. He offered before I could ask. That matters to me. I did not talk him into anything. He stood on my porch, wiped his face with the heel of his hand, and said, "Whatever you need me to do, I will do it. Nobody did this for me when it was me. I found out from a text I was never supposed to see, and I spent a year arguing with a ghost. She should have to look at both of us. So we made a plan, 2 strangers over a porch rail, and it was simple. No screaming, no trap that could be called a trap. We picked the following Friday. She had told him she could not see him that Friday because of the cousin. She had told me she would be home by 6 for dinner. For once, both of her stories were about to be true. I spent the week being normal, and I learned something ugly about myself, which is that I am good at it. 5 days of kissing her goodbye with his phone number in my pocket. 5 days of watching her text at the sink and knowing the exact bubble her words were landing in because the man on the other end was forwarding them to me at night with one-line translations. She says, "The cousin is worse. That means she is staying with you this weekend. It is a horrible thing to watch a stranger read your wife better than you can." Wednesday night, she stood at the bathroom mirror and told me she might have to help her cousin move some furniture on Friday so dinner could slip. 20 minutes later, my pocket buzzed. She had told him she could probably get free Friday after all if he wanted her. The same hour. 2 versions of Friday. One said to my face and one sent from her phone, and I brushed my teeth next to her and said, "No problem. We can eat late." I am not proud of how steady my voice was. 15 years of her practice, and it turns out I had been taking lessons the whole time without knowing it. The next night, my pocket buzzed again. He had told her Friday would not work on his end after all, and by morning, her cousin's furniture had quietly moved itself. She told me dinner was back on for 6. The lawyer came first before the dinner because I wanted protection in place before anything blew up. Monday, over my lunch break, a divorce attorney one town over. I brought the photos of the texts, dates written on the back like evidence tags. He listened, wrote 3 things on a pad, and then walked me through Idaho slow and plain, twice, until it stuck. Idaho is a community property state, he said. The house, the accounts, the retirement built during the marriage that gets divided, and fair warning, close to down the middle. Do not let anybody on the internet tell you she walks out with a suitcase and nothing else. That is not real life. Then he said, in this state, spousal maintenance is not automatic. She has to show the court she cannot support herself, and even then the statute hands the judge a list of things to weigh before ordering a dime. And written into that list, plain as anything, is the fault of either party. Fault. One word, sitting in the law like a locked door. Adultery is fault here. If she asks this court to make you pay her way after the divorce, she has to walk past that word to do it. And you are telling me you have the other man willing to put what happened in a sworn statement. I said, he offered before I asked. My lawyer sat back and said, in 19 years, I have had exactly one of these, the affair partner as a cooperating witness. Do you understand that most men in your chair are trying to prove something everyone denies? Yours signed up. The man from my porch signed the affidavit that Wednesday, 2 days before the dinner, because he wanted it done while his nerve held. We met at a shipping store with a notary counter, the least dramatic room in America, fluorescent lights and a wall of boxes. He brought his own folder, printed hotel receipts with his card on them because he had paid for every room, which told me one more thing about her system. Dates in his handwriting down the margin. The notary stamped it between a passport renewal and a woman mailing a birthday package. No idea she was notarizing the end of a marriage. Outside, he handed me the folder and said, I needed one of these years ago, and nobody would write it. Then he sat in his truck for a minute before he drove off, and I let him have that minute without watching. That Friday, I set our dining room table for 3. Let me describe it, because I stood there a long time getting it right. Her plate where it always goes. Mine where it always goes. And a third setting at the head of the table, the seat we never use, the seat her father sits in at Thanksgiving. Water glass, folded napkin, everything straight. A place for the man she brought into this marriage without telling me. He parked his truck 1 street over and walked. At 5:40, he was sitting at the head of my table with his hands flat on the wood, like a man steadying himself on a boat. Neither of us talked much. There is not a lot of small talk available to 2 men in our situation. Her key hit the door at 6 exactly. 15 years, and I could tell you her sounds blindfolded, keys in the bowl, coat on the hook, the little exhale she does at the end of a week. She came around the corner saying something about traffic, and the sentence just quit in the middle. I have replayed the next 10 seconds more than anything else in my life. She started putting on the face a wife shows a husband. Then she saw him, and the boyfriend face started up before the wife face was finished. For 1 second, standing in her own dining room, my wife had no face at all. The purse slid off her shoulder and hit the floor. Nobody picked it up. She said his name, then mine, then his again. And then, I promise you this happened. She chose a lie anyway, with both of us sitting there. She picked me first, looked right at me and said, this is not what it looks like. He is a contractor. We have been planning a surprise for the bathroom. The bathroom. The one she and I gutted ourselves 9 years ago. The towel bar fight and all. He did not raise his voice. That was the thing about him the entire time. He sounded tired, not angry. He said, tell him about the cousin. Her whole body went still. He said, tell him about the room you rent from your cousin and the standing meeting and why nobody can call you after 9. Tell him because I already did. And if you tell it different, one of us will know. That is the trap we never had to build. It built itself. Two men who can each check the other's answers. She had spent 7 months running two clean stories through two separate people, and the stories were finally in the same room, and they could not both stand. Every sentence she tried died against one of us. She told me she had been lonely, and he said, "You told me you were divorced and thriving." She told him I controlled her, that she had been afraid to leave. I stood up and got the folder where she keeps our accounts, both names on everything, her name first on the house. I set it on the table next to her water glass without a word. 20 minutes. That is how long it took for her to run out of versions. I had braced for tears, and the tears came, but I was not braced for the anger, and the anger is what I remember. When the last story collapsed, she stopped crying, looked at the two of us like we were the ones caught, and said, "You ambushed me. You two do not get to team up on me. This is sick." The man she had been lying to for 7 months stood up, pushed in the chair, the polite way you do it in someone else's house, and said the only loud thing he said all night. "Nobody teamed up on you. You introduced us." Then he looked at me, said, "You have my number," and walked out my front door. And that was the last time he was ever in my house. She moved in with her cousin that Sunday, the actual cousin. 7 months of renting an invented room from that woman, and now she was living in a real one. Not because I threw her out, because after he left, she sat at that table across from his empty place setting, and for the first time in 15 years, there was nothing left to manage me with. Every tool she had was a version of a story, and the stories were dead. The divorce took 5 months, and it went the way the lawyer drew it up. Idaho did what Idaho does. We sold the house and split what it gave us. The accounts, the retirement from 15 years, down the middle, and I want to say plainly to the men reading along with a calculator, that part is the law, and it is fine. Half of the community was always hers. I never wanted a jackpot. I wanted the door closed. What was left was spousal maintenance, and maintenance is where that Saturday morning on the porch paid off. Her attorney filed for spousal support. Long marriage, she was asking for years of it, and between her lawyer and mine, I learned she had been quietly assuming it the whole time, the same way she assumed I would keep leaving the porch light on. My lawyer answered with the statute and 2 exhibits, a sworn statement from the man she called her boyfriend, dates, hotels, 7 months, notarized, voluntary, and the February text. "You are the first person in my life who has never lied to me." Fault, in her own words, sent from my couch. Her side asked for a settlement conference instead of a hearing. Her lawyer looked through the affidavit, and I watched a paid professional recalculate a case in real time. The maintenance claim came off the table that afternoon and never came back. The fault of either party. One line in the statute and a locked door, and she was standing on the wrong side of it. That and the plain arithmetic. A woman walking away with half of everything, and a paycheck is not a woman who cannot support herself. She fought hardest at the end about the strangest thing, not money. She wanted me to agree in writing that neither of us would discuss the marriage publicly. My lawyer slid it back unsigned. I am telling it anyway, with no names and no town, because men like me sit in the dark doing math about gym bags, and somebody owes them the ending. The decree came through in November. She is with neither of us, in case you are wondering. He ended it standing up from my table in front of her. She lost the marriage and the affair on the same night, and for the same reason. Not just the cheating. 2 men finally compared her stories, and neither one held up. 2 more things happened after the decree, and they belong in this story. In December, her cousin called me, the woman whose spare room had been a prop in 2 different lies before it ever held a suitcase. I braced for the family version, the one where I am the ambush. Instead, There was a long pause, the kind you can hear, and then she said, "She has been telling the family you set a trap, but I have seen the affidavit. A trap is when somebody builds the lie. You just set the table. She has not called since, and she does not need to. That squared us. And in January, he texted me for the first time since that Friday night. 3 words and a period. She came by. He told me later, when I ran into him the following spring, that she stood on his porch a long time, knocking, and he sat inside with the lights off and let the door answer for him. This whole story started with a man knocking on a door that opened. It ended with her knocking on one that would not. I saw him once more, that same spring. Farm store parking lot, him loading fence posts. We nodded. He raised 2 fingers off the tailgate. I raised 2 off my cart, and we went back to our lives. We are not friends. We are something I do not have a word for. 2 men who were lied to by the same professional, who told each other the truth once on a porch for 2 hours. The house sold to a young couple. Before the closing, I changed the porch light bulb because it had finally burned out, and I stood in the driveway one last time looking at it. 15 years I left that light on for her. I thought it was a kindness. She turned it into a curfew, one more way of keeping her 2 stories apart. He knocked on the door 10 feet from that light, and the whole system came down in one Saturday morning. Her boyfriend was more honest with me than my wife ever was. A man who knew her 7 months taught me more truth than 15 years did. The light is some other families now. I hope they never learn what it can be used for. See you in the next one.